It's about 10:30 p.m. West Coast time on Saturday. What comes after Donald Trump? What comes after Donald Trump? He is not going to be on the ballot in 2028. He's not going to be on the ballot in 2026 in the midterms. We got a slight preview in the off-year elections of a couple weeks ago. Donald Trump was not on the ballot, and MAGA voters stayed home. MAGA, the hardcore MAGA, the inbred fart-huffing dipshits, the evangelical Christians who celebrate taking food away from hungry people, who celebrate taking health insurance away from 20 million Americans, taking food away from 41 million Americans, including 14 million children. The Gomers who fucking jerk off to the ICE videos, the violent abductions. When Donald Trump is not on the ballot, they stay home. They are not the majority in this country. They are not even a majority inside the Republican Party. They are 35 to 40% of Republican voters, the hardcore MAGA. And when Donald Trump's not on the ballot, they stay home. So what happens when he's no longer on the ballot? And to me, I haven't fully thought this through, so I'm just going to rant for a bit. To me, like, the greatest institutional failure, the greatest institutional collapse over the last decade has been the Republican Party. I mean, he came in 2015 and took over. And it's not like they just let him do it. They did. They just let him do it. But the vast majority of the Republican establishment was like, okay, I guess we're doing this now. And it's gotten worse with every single passing year for 10 years. And so for the midterms, are 35 to 40% of Republican voters going to just stay home? In 2028, are 35 to 40% of Republican voters just going to stay home? Because Trump is not going to be on the ballot in either of those elections. And I think one of the key takeaways from election night a couple of weeks ago is the incredible weakness of Donald Trump. He couldn't turn out his MAGA base, that 35 to 40% of the Republican Party. He couldn't get them to go to the polls when he was not on the ballot. He couldn't convince them to go vote for Republicans when he was not on the ballot. I mean, Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger, governor-elect, both of them in New Jersey and Virginia, they won by 14, 15, 16 points. Mikey Sherrill was projected to win by maybe 3. So is the Republican Party going to stick with MAGA without Donald Trump? How is that going to work? Who's the candidate going to be in 2028? Do you remember during the 2024 campaign, it's like Donald Trump was drawing massive crowds. J.D. Vance was struggling to pull 300 people at his campaign events. He's not the guy. The party's moved on from Marco Rubio. Was it going to be Kristi Noem? They're going to have to move on to another personality of that type. Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's going to run. Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to run. I think Tucker Carlson's the closest thing they got, but MAGA hates him right now because he's been going against Trump. Tucker Carlson's not going to turn out that MAGA base. He's not going to be able to fix that. I mean, it's like on the one hand that I feel like, some encouragement that, okay, 3 years from now, we'll be able to start rebuilding and fixing this. But looking at the damage, I mean, Donald Trump has destroyed democratic governance to a large degree at the federal level in the last 9 months, and nobody's done a fucking thing to stop him. What are he and his administration going to get done over the next 3 years? Look at the damage that they have done in 9 months, 10 months. Is MAGA even going to exist without Donald Trump? Because he excelled in turning out low propensity voters who were members of a cult of personality led by him, and he's going to be gone. Are those voters just going to retreat back into their double wides and just stop voting again? And thank God. I mean, what are they going to nominate? Are they going to nominate Don Jr.? J.D. Vance is never going to fill an arena, ever, in his entire life. That's not going to happen. Rubio's out. The party moved on from him. Don Jr.'s a fucking coked out joke. Ron DeSantis had his shot. That's going nowhere. I've heard people say, well, maybe it's going to be Glenn Youngkin, who's, the outgoing governor of Virginia. His time passed. People talk about Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. I mean, he's a second-term governor. We haven't heard a fucking peep out of that guy. Who is there who even could take over that mantle? There's nobody. There's nobody. There's literally nobody. So what is going to happen to MAGA? I mean, the midterms, as much as Republicans are going to try to fuck with the midterms, and they're going to fuck with them bad. They're going to fuck with the midterms bad. Trump is not going to be on the ballot. And that 35-ish% of the Republican Party is going to stay home. I think as much as Republicans are going to try to mess with these midterms, the midterms are going to be an absolute bloodbath because Trump's not going to introduce any policies that are going to actually improve anything in this country. There's the only people in this country who can say that their lives are better now than they were the day before the election day are people who are heavily invested in private prison companies. That's it. And election night a couple weeks ago proved that, I think.